wonder if that means I'm live twice. I don't know. I guess we will see. And first, we need people. We need peoples. And thus far, there are currently no peoples. There we go. Now it says there's 2 peoples. 3. 4. Somebody say something. I don't want to be the only one talking here. But maybe I am. Let's see who all's out there in the world of the interwebs here today. Hey, there's somebody. There's David Daly. Says 6 p.m. in the UK, perfect time for beer and live stream. I didn't think it'd be a bad time for either one of those things, but then again, I don't drink anymore. But when I did drink, I didn't ever have a hard time finding a bad time for beer. But that's also a reason why I don't drink anymore. So there's Jeff 7. There's Charles 75N. What's up, fellas? And what's everybody been up to this week? Anything good? I've been holding down the homestead by myself all week long because my wife's been out of town on vacation. So it's just been me and Zoe all week, and she spent a good chunk of the time in the cone of shame. So, but she comes home this evening, so we are going to pick her up tonight. Another thing that I discovered this week, if you love the movie The Karate Kid like you're supposed to, and you have not yet watched Cobra Kai on Netflix, that's your fault, because that show rules. I binge watched the whole thing this week. It was awesome. And season 3, I guess, is supposed to come up and supposed to be available in January, and I can't wait for it. That show rules. If you have not seen Cobra Kai, you got to go spend some time and go watch Cobra Kai. Seriously, it's awesome. Let's see. So, yeah, that. Beyond that, I don't really have I didn't really do too much this weekend. This week. I spent time working on a couple of videos like I always do, and messing around with my new amp, new to me anyway. But that's really about all I did. Darren Broxton says, have you tried any Cort guitar, specifically the G290? G290 Fat. I have not played that specific model. I've played plenty of Cort guitars over the years, though, and you probably have too, because Samick is known as the largest guitar manufacturer in the world, and they make there's a lot of guitars that come out of the Samick factory that most of us don't even realize come out of the Samick factory. That said, there's a bunch of them that come out of the Cort factory too, and they make guitars for a lot of different brands. that specific model, I have, I'm not familiar with it, but I mean, Cort for the most part seem to make pretty decent instruments. I think their main factory, I think, is in Indonesia. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't be afraid of it. Let's tell you what. Let's go see what that one is. Cort G290 Fat popped right up. Looks like a Super Shredder, Super Strat kind of guitar. Looks sharp. Looks real sharp. Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of that at all. Wonder what it sells for. $5.99. At a number of different places. Yeah, based on photos. Ooh, that X700 is real cool. A couple $100 more, but nice. Yeah, I'd eat it. Caesar MC says, greetings from Peru. What do you think of the EHX Canyon, specifically the analog delay mode? What's up, man? Greetings from the U.S. The Canyon, I think, is a kick-ass delay pedal. It's, let's call it what it is. It's basically Electro Harmonix's answer to the Boss DD7 slash, the DD7 was still out when the Canyon came out, but of course Boss has since replaced it with the DD8. The analog delay mode sounds like analog delay, in my opinion. I don't own that pedal, but I've played through it a few times, and honestly, the only reason I haven't bought it is because I have a DD7, and the DD7 is my all-time favorite delay pedal. Well, it was until I got a hold of the DD200, and now that the DD8 is out, I am awaiting an opportunity for me to buy one of those. And by opportunity, I mean money, because they're still like $180. But and I can't just go drop $180 on a delay pedal when I've got so many of them sitting around as it is. But Canyons are cool, dude. Canyons are real cool. Now the Grand Canyon, which is the big version, that one's kind of a totally different kind of deal. But and that one's got a little bit too much, knobs and switches and presets and all that kind of, a little bit too much processing stuff in it for my taste. But the Canyon is very, very cool. If my recommendation, based on my experience with the Boss equivalent, if you buy one, spend the money and get yourself an external foot switch to go with it, so that you can control the tap tempo and whatever other features that it has on it that can be controlled with an external foot control. So that's my recommendation. Dave Escobar, morning to you, sir. Happy Saturday to you as well. Dave Daly says, this week I've fitted an 80s Epiphone Super Strat neck from my first Elector to a crappy Chinese telly body. I was bored. Hey, Jeff Parker's here today. What's up, dude? How's life up in cold, barren tundra, Michigan? Because it was real cold early in the week and raining like hell here, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and then the next day, like actually yesterday, Thursday and Friday especially, jumped up like 17 degrees warmer or something, and back up into the 70s, and now today it's supposed to be mid-50s maybe. Gotta love Indiana weather. Jeff says, I've had Cort guitars before, really honestly love them all. I haven't had one this decade, but had a couple in the 90s and in the 2000s. Yeah, so there you go. And there's a guy that's owned a lot of guitars. So, yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of that Cort guitar at all. So, I'm also not afraid to buy a guitar, not having played it first either, though. There's still a lot of people out there that bitch and moan when they haven't got to play it first. Well, if you don't like it nowadays, you box it back up and send it back. So, Dave Escobar says I like those Greg Bennett Avions. I haven't seen those, but I'm assuming they're along the same lines. So, Greg Bennett's another one of those companies that's, I think they may be a Court. They may be a Court brand, if memory serves. I think those are made by Court. I know they're real similar. Court used to have a Matthias Jabs, a Strat style signature model. Interesting. They've had a few different signature models. None of them come to mind, but I remember seeing a few of them. Back in my store days, we'd get one. Somebody would bring one in every now and then that was, kind of an interesting. There was a signature body of somebody that nobody had seen in a while, so you just seen or heard from. Frozen rain last night, had ice on the deck this morning. Yeah, awesome. Gotta love winter on the way. Don B is here this morning from Oregon. Says Robert and coffee, can't go wrong. I actually opted for Diet Pepsi this morning. I just was not in the mood for coffee for some reason. So I went for Diet Pepsi. As you can see here. Dave Escobar. Okay, Dave says the Greg Bennett's are made by Samick. I knew it was one of the two. That's right. Yeah, they've even got that on the logo, don't they? David Daly says, any thoughts on the Harley Benton TE90 FLT? I have not played any of the Harley Benton guitars, to be honest with you. I have, I thought about ordering one just for the hell of it and, seeing what it was about. And, and I keep talking myself out of it because, the last thing I need is another cheap guitar that I'm going to play for a demo and, likely never use again. And based on the model number, the TE90, I'm going to assume that's a Tele model, which would probably be the last one I would order for myself, just because I'm not a Tele guy. I don't, nothing wrong with Teles. I just they are way too twangy, quacky for me. I bought that Chapman ML1 traditional a month or so ago. That's their Strat style guitar, just because I needed a Strat style single coil type guitar, a good one. I didn't have one, and I bought that, and that filled that void for me. But the thing I think I've always liked about Strats over Teles is Teles got that have that real distinct signature sound for them. There's a reason why country guys like them so much. Teles got that really distinct sound to them, and Strats are a little more versatile, and can obviously are used in Teles are used in a lot of different genres too, but I think Strats are used in a lot more. Pardon me. Anyway, that said, I just recently joined the Harley Benton group on Facebook, and most of those guys are pretty. That's obviously, if you join a group like that, those are, that's everybody that really likes Harley Benton guitars. But I haven't seen anything posted in that group about any models that anybody seems to be down on. So they seem to be doing it right, near as I can tell. I actually reached out to them a couple of weeks ago, to see if, I really would like to demo some of their guitars, or at least one, and. So I reached out to them. They got back with me and said they weren't looking for any they weren't in need of any other YouTube I think YouTube collaborators, I think is what they, how they put it, but but that's what they meant. So they didn't. They've got plenty of people out there to demo their guitars right now, and didn't need to add me to the list. So that's it. Try again another day, but doesn't look like there's gonna be Harley Bentons for me, in the future here for me. So. Dave Escobar says Diet Pepsi and Diet Dr. Pepper are my go-to if I do diet soda. I usually, Diet Cherry Pepsi is probably my first choice for the diet stuff. And actually, the Coke Zero stuff I like too. But the Diet Cherry Pepsi, for some reason, is like gold here in the Midwest. Every time I go to the store, it's sold out and been sold out. And if they've gotten any in before in a while anyway, so we have to suffice with the regular Diet Pepsi. Darren Broxton says, off the cuff, Robert, one guitar, one amp, one pedal, can be multi-effects, budget $1,000. By the way, great channel. Well, if you must be new here, because if there's no way in hell would I be, would I ever buy a if I had $1,000 budget to buy a guitar rig, there's no way in hell I would supplement any of that with a multi-effects unit. 500 bucks. Or $1,000, I guess, is what you're asking. I don't know if that's enough money, man. Because the guitar, I would likely go Chapman, because they've got some really, really, good guitars in the 500 range. I've just recently discovered this year. 500 bucks, like that's about what I paid. That's about what my baritone cost, and it was right around 500 bucks. And I think it was a little more than 500, but I think the ML1, just the regular, the ML1 Modern, whatever they call it, I think it's $499. So there's half the budget gone right there. But that guitar would do everything I needed to do. And if I'm only getting one guitar anyway, that one would do everything I would need to do. For an amp, I would probably, if we're talking new, I would probably have to go with a Marshall DSL, and even then, that's that would kill my budget right there. There wouldn't be anything left for pedals. If you're gonna be kind and let me throw a delay pedal in there, a cheap delay, then I'd probably go with the TC Electronic Profit delay, just to get it somewhat close to $1,000, but that's about it. Now, if you let me use my employee discount, and the budget's still $1,000, that answer's a little bit different. But yep, that's about where I'd land. God, that's hard to think about too, because I remember, 10 years ago, $1,000 used to be able to get you quite a bit more, and the answer that a lot of people would throw in there would be a modeling amp of some kind, but again, if you watch my channel for any length of time, I'm just not a modeling amp guy. They're not my thing. I don't necessarily have to have tubes. Doesn't necessarily have to be a tube amp, but I don't need an amp that pretends to be 20 other amps and doesn't do its own thing. So David Daly says the TE90 is Filtertron style pickups. Okay, so that would be similar to the Fender did I think it was called the Cabernita Telly that they did a while back. That started as what was it, 2012 or something like that. They were doing this thing where they were releasing a limited run guitar every month for the year. And they did 1 month was a model called the Cabernita Telly. I think it was for an anniversary year of some kind. And Zoe, what you doing, little girl? You okay? Zoe's getting still got the cone of shame, so she's okay, but you know it makes it a little hard for her to get up and down places. But they did one called the Cabernita Telly, which was it started as that limited run thing, and you know which was the expensive made in the U.S. thing that was for it all intents and purposes it was a Telly with a couple of Filtertrons in it, and then they came out with a couple of different more inexpensive versions down the road, but. Let's see. Yugaman 23 says your 5 Desert Island albums. Oh boy. 5 Desert Island albums. Metallica. Let's see. Metallica Red Lightning, Master Puppets, or Justice. One of those three. I'll let you decide which one because, you know, for me that answer changes every day. So one of those 3 Metallica records. I'm going to cheat and go with Iron Maiden's Flight 666 live show. Steve Vai, Passion and Warfare. God, what else? Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I'm going to cheat again and go with Alice in Chains. Nothing Safe. Whatever that greatest hits thing was that they did. So. Jeff Parker said, for that, I would get used Marshall DSL 40. Those are awesome. Used 400 range. Leave 600 to get a used Schecter Ibanez. Yeah, so if you're going used gear, then yeah, you got a little bit more flexibility. But you know, if you're talking just brand new prices, and even brand new, I mean, you can, if I went over budget by $60 or so with that pedal, I mean, you can still. I don't think there's a retailer in the world that wouldn't cut you a break. So, and if they wouldn't, I'm not buying from them. So. S-Fear 6 says, how about those Mesa EQ pedals and throttle box pedals with EQ? Did you ever try those? No, I didn't, because when those came out, if you guys don't know this, those pedals are the reason why Guitar Center no longer carries Mesa Boogie. And I was at I was still at the store. I was still at Guitar Center when that happened. And no, Zoe, you stay put. I was still at Guitar Center when that happened. And, what happened was Mesa came out. Mesa is very, very strict about, they will not allow any of the retailers to discount any of their products, and they don't allow any more than 2 dealers within, it's like 75 or 80 miles of each other, something like that, to carry the product, and they do that because, that they implement those policies because they don't want to compete against themselves, and I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But when they came out with the pedals, Guitar Center had specific stores that were specifically Mesa stores. And, so when they came out with those pedals, they wanted Guitar Center to put those pedals in every single one of their stores. And, the buyers at GC were like, whoa, let's, pump the brakes on this. Let's start out, put them in like 50 stores. Let's see how they do. You know, if they take off and they do well there, you know, then we'll talk. You know, we'll put them into some more stores. But you know, Mesa was like, no, we've already done all the market research. These are going to do really well for us. We know that, et cetera. So, you know, so at that point, that's when Guitar Center decided that, you know, because we'd had, you know, GC had trouble getting support from Mesa for years. You know, we'd pull a box, or, you know, pull an amp right out of the box and it'd blow up or something. Something would be wrong with it, and they wouldn't take it back and fix it. They'd make us deal with it. So, you know, so after that going on for a number of years, and then this conversation about pedals, you know, finally Guitar Center decided to give Mesa Boogie the finger, and they cleared out all their amps and got rid of everything, and that was that. So, you know, we never, you know, and nobody got the pedals. So that said, you know, have I tried them since then? I have not, but I do know of a lot of people that have used them quite a bit, and they do sound good, man. You know, hats off to Mesa Boogie. I mean, they did do a good job with that pedal line. Dave Escobar says use Marshall DSL combo, which is, you know, again, that's what I would be doing. That's the direction I'd be going. Tube Screamer type pedal and use Schecter Super Shredder. I saw Fluff put, you said Tube Screamer type pedal. Fluff put up a video today that was called Amazon Basics Overdrive. Apparently, you know, the Amazon is now cranking out their own effects pedals under their Amazon Basics brand. I haven't had a chance to look at it, and I haven't seen the video, but I'll tell you what. Let's go have a look-see, shall we? There you go. You guys can come with me for this. Because I am curious about this. Amazon Basics pedals. There's a compressor. Alright, let's try. Yep, there's a compressor. We know about the overdrive. There's a Donner. And of course, you can't just... There we go. Okay, Amazon Basics, all one word. Wow. All kinds of guitar gear. Fully analog circuit, it says. Oh, they're all on the same lister. Okay, so they got a boost. There's a compressor. The delay is $48. The rest of these, you know, the delay is $48. The, you know, the TC Ditto clone, I'm sure is what that is. $46, and then the rest of them are all under 30. Huh. Wow. Interesting. I'll have to, I'm gonna have to check out a few of those. No purple or no Prince. Purple Rain is in my top 2, says Chris Morrow. No, I love Prince, dude. I really do. That's a great record, but I only got 5 to choose from, man. You know, they're my 5, not yours. Put Purple Rain in your top 5. JD Mopar says Black Sabbath Volume 4, Slayer Rain and Blood, Metallica Master of Puppets, Van Halen 1, and Jimi Hendrix Smash Hits. Not a bad, not a bad pick either. So hey Robert, maybe you know, maybe you don't. Tips on miking drums. Drummer in current band never mic'd before, playing small clubs he never needed. With COVID already, booking outside for next year. You know, yeah, I'm far from an expert in miking drums, but the you know what drummers that I have always played with, um, for live use, for live anyway, miking drums for live versus miking in the studio are two totally different things. Because in the studio, most of those guys seem to want to, seem to mic everything, every single individual drums. For live, going through a PA, a little bit different story. The it's like a standard instrument mic of some kind. Um, be it an SM57 or Audix i5 or something like that, is what most people seem to prefer for for their snare drum. You probably need to put, something for the kick drum, which is like the Shure, was the 52. I think it's the Beta 52 that's a real popular Shure mic. One of the better sounding kick drum mics that I've heard is, something along the lines, something like that, or a deep throaty sounding instrument mic along with a Solomon mic's. God, what the hell they call that thing? God, I have one sitting right back there in that room too. Low Freak. Yeah, the Solomon mic's Low Freak sub mic, because what that thing does is captures the really really low sub frequencies, and so you combine the Low Freak with with another another mic of some kind to capture all of those frequencies of that bass drum, and it sounds really really good together. My buddy Sean France is probably the best drummer that I know. Has been using. He used to work for Solomon mics, and he has been miking with the Low Freak for years now. And come here, Zoe. Come here. You thirsty? Come here. Take it off of you. There you go. He's been miking his drum live with the Low Freak for years, and his live sound always sounds killer on his. He primarily plays through Gretsch kit, Gretsch Renown, I believe. So, and then for everything else, a couple of condenser pencil mics, overhead mics, one on each side for live use. Again, usually does a pretty good job of capturing the toms and the cymbals, and that's most of the bands that I've played in, that's how most of them do it. So partially because it's it captures everything, and also partially to keep things simple, so that especially if you got a 6 or 8 piece drum kit and half a dozen cymbals and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a lot of work miking all that stuff up, and then a lot more work tearing it all down and putting it away. So Dave Escobar says they have a bunch of labeled Chinese pedals. Yeah, and I'm sure that those Amazon pedals, I'm sure that's what they are. Whatever Chinese company's cranking those things out by the gazillions is, Amazon threw them a few bucks to put out a line that has their name on it. I'm quite sure that's what it is. So. S4 6 says, I hope you do a demo of the Hunting Mids and Bonsai pedals by JHS soon. We'll see. It's the thing with demoing specific gears. Most of the time, in order for me to do it, I got to pay for it out of my own pocket. And there's some things that I quite honestly I don't have a especially with pedals, man, because I've done so many pedal demos now. I'm kind of getting burnt out on pedal demos, if I'm being honest. I mean, I'm not going to stop doing them, but I'm much more interested in demoing guitars and amps right now, and I'm trying to find more companies willing to work with me to do that stuff. And quite honestly, I mean, you guys always seem to enjoy guitar and amp demos a lot more than you do pedal demos. I mean, I could put up most of the time nowadays, I put up a pedal demo, and most of you guys don't even watch it. So, yeah, I mean, it'll get a few hundred views, but that's that's pretty much the extent of it. And that's not just me. I mean, that's there's a lot of a lot of the other guys on YouTube that demo gear. They're all we've all started discovering that here in the last couple of years. I mean, the demand for pedal demos, unless it's something just brand spanking new, that everybody's really excited to see what it's about, then yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I reached out to JHS a long time ago when my channel was a lot smaller than it is now, and they basically gave me the old well, we don't really need anybody to demo demo any gear for us, but we'll be happy to give you a 15% discount or something, and which was nice, and but it was a consolation prize. I'll have to reach back out to him again and see if maybe I'm not a little if the size of my how much my channel's grown since then isn't more enticing to him, but we'll see. The other thing with those, with all those boutique pedal builders, man, they're all friends, and a lot of them don't like me because I shit all over the Fuzz Factory once upon a time. So, Zachary Vex hates my guts. So, we'll have to see. I just got a message from David Gabe. Says he's got a bonsai pedal that I can borrow. All right, well, we'll see. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll down here. Darren Broxton's hitting up the first one to crack open the super chat today. So love the clear and frank advice. Together with the community comments, have a non-alcoholic drink on me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That will very likely come in mind because I got a feeling I'm going to be sitting in the car waiting for my wife's plane to land for a little bit this evening. Amazon is most likely a Donna or a Moogig rebranded, probably. My Eater says, "What you buying? Buy now." You must have just hopped in when I had the Amazon screen pulled up. Now I was checking out Amazon's new brand of pedals. So, Kobe says, "Robert, do you have any experience with Klon clones? The original pedal being $5,000. Is there an alternative that you can cite?" With Klons, they're $5,000. I heard somebody asking $5,000 for one recently, but realistically, I've always seen them actually sell for between $1,500 and $2,000 last few years. Granted, still for a 3-knob overdrive, that's still that's a lot of money. And I don't know how the cost on those things get driven up as far as they did, but regardless, it did. Long story short, there's actually a lot of a lot of really good Klon style overdrives out there. My favorite is still probably the Electro Harmonix Soul Food killer overdrive pedal. Let's see, the Soul Food is a good one. The Wampler Tumnus is an excellent one. That one's really, really popular, and there's a mini version of that as well. So if you get both versions, then you will have two of them, and then you get to say that you have two Tumni, not Tumnus, Tumni. The proper terminology. So there's the Tumnus / Tumni, depending how many you own. And then there is I think Rocket. Rocket or J Rocket, what's that thing called? I think it's called J Rocket pedals. They've got one called the Arrow or something like that. I might be mistaken about the name, but I know they've got one that is a really, really good one. And if you're looking for something a little bit on the cheaper side, the Joyo Tauren, believe it or not, from their new Revolution series is great. So any of those would definitely get the job done and get you in the neighborhood. So, the truth is that that Klon circuit is not a complex. As pedal circuits go anyway, it's not very complex at all. And I can't remember the guy's name that first designed that pedal back in the 90s, but even he said that there's nothing special about it. S-Fear 6 says, I have the Haunting Mids. It's becoming always on pedal. I never realized how useful it was until I got one. Wrenchhead says, Tumnus is a great clone. See, there you go. Joel Bateman's here. David Gabe says, is a hot dog a sandwich? No, a hot dog is a hot dog. A hot dog is a hot dog. A sandwich is a meat or a filler of some kind that is smashed in between two pieces of bread. A hot dog is a filler or in this case, a meat product that is wrapped in a bread product. So, no. And while we're at it, just in case anybody asks, yes, Batman is a superhero. Let's see. Joey Van Ostrand says, I don't have good luck with pedals. No way in hell am I rolling the dice on Amazon branded ones. I wouldn't be afraid of the Amazon branded ones, actually. I bet you I'm sure they don't suck any, not that they suck, but, they don't sound any worse than, the Moors or the Amoons or any of those off-brand things that are all over Amazon anyway. I'm sure they're the exact same thing. Joel Bateman says, my PV5150 head not for sale. Hadley Scott McIntyre is here. You called me Rob, you dick. Everything is a sandwich. If you add in the time dimension, eat a piece of bread, everything between you, next piece of bread makes a sandwich. Okay. My knee shirt says Azor pedals, $20, work great. They just have a lot of noise and the buttons are loud. Joey Jojo Shobadu is here today. What's up, dude? JG Mopar says, I like all the demos. I appreciate that. If you're talking about mine anyway, I certainly appreciate that. Jeff Parker says, thanks, yeah, I'm a guitarist. I just feed to front of house, done the workings of the drummers, don't know. Yeah, and that's kind of where about the extent of my experience. I just watched, enough drummers sound guys do it. I mean, I just do it the way that I described and let the sound guy do his job. Really best thing I can do. If he's decent at his job, he'll be able to mix it in okay. Dave Escobar says, I bought a Little Bear Rat clone from watching your demo. Cool. That is surprisingly a really cool pedal. If you're into rat style distortions, I mean that's a really good, really cheap way to get 3 of them. S-Fear6 says, but you're the most honest reviewer on pedals on YouTube today. That's not true at all. There is no benefit to anybody who demos pedals. Demos and I demo. There is a difference between a demo and a review, and I do far more demos than I do reviews. There is, of everybody that demos pedals on YouTube, there is no, you guys, it honestly, it kind of drives me crazy when people say, oh, he's lying about it because, they're afraid not going to get any more free gear. No, that's not true. I just finished a video the other day, where, with a pedal that I was not all that impressed with. And, they asked me to do it, and I told them, I said, there's a few things about this thing that I'm not real crazy about, but, but the demos that are, and I'm not talking about stuff like, where I've made videos of the Metal Muff. That's, those are strictly as a joke, where I literally, intentionally shit all over something, I do, that's for a laugh. Okay. I may piss off a few companies in the meantime, but, that's specifically for a laugh. The demos of pedals that are, where the guy demoing it or the gal demoing it has nothing good to say about it. The truth is, you never see them. You don't see those videos because for that reason, the person doing the demo, you're right, probably doesn't want to, put up anything that's going to appear to be trashing the other company because, that's not cool. So the right thing to do in that instance is just to box the damn thing back up and send it back to them and say, I'm not a good fit. I'm not a good fit for this pedal. And, has been times when I did not do that and I should have. But I mean, there's no benefit to, to somebody, trying, putting on their happy face about a pedal that they really truly don't have a happy face about. If most of the people doing demos out there, if they're telling you that they like something, they're telling you the truth. And I communicate with a lot of those guys pretty regularly. So, it's, for some reason, there's this misconception out there that, some people are dishonest. And I mean, there may be exceptions, but for the most part, people are really most people on YouTube are a lot more honest than I think a lot of people give them credit for. But I appreciate the fact that you guys think I'm honest, and I certainly do try to be. Jeff Parker says, as long as you continue the jokes at the intro. Sometimes I text them to my sister just to get a groan or a chuckle out of her. You know why I started doing that? Because I couldn't think of another way to start out my videos. I mean, for the longest time I was doing it, honestly, I basically ripped off Fluff, and I was doing it the same way that he did, and finally I was like, I'm ripping off somebody else. This isn't cool, so I tried doing some things, mentioning some other things, elaborating a little bit more in the intro, and it just It just didn't feel right, and it just felt like I was forcing the issue, and so finally I'm like, why don't I just tell a joke that's completely unrelated to anything in this video? Not a joke, but ask an unanswerable question. Hail Mary Recordings is here. What's up, dude? Good track, by the way. He sent me a track here a couple of days ago via email, and I really, really liked it. It was very, very Foo Fighters-esque. Islander White, the Archer, that's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you. Islander Winder corrected me on the clone that I couldn't think of the name of. The Archer is the one he was referring to. Let's see, who else has hopped in here? Mike St. Croix. Don B is here. GoobTuber is here. Leonard Zabinski's here. Says if you use a noise gate in your pedal chain, will a boost pedal help compensate for the reduction sustained caused by the noise gate? You asked that question on a video earlier this week, and I actually replied to you. A noise gate shouldn't cut or boost anything. So if you got a noise gate in your pedal chain and it's cutting the signal, you've got it. Maybe it's that either there's something wrong with it, or there's something. I don't know what's causing that. To be honest, but it shouldn't be the noise gate, because all a noise gate does is takes the noise. Basically it chokes off the signal. To a point that's. The idea is to set it to the point that the signal gets through, but the external some of the other noise and stuff going on around it does not. So the idea being you hit a chord and you stop playing and you hear nothing but that silence. So you've got the gate open enough for the guitar tone to come through, but not the additional noise that might also be coming through in the chain. So. It doesn't, it shouldn't be, a boost pedal or anything like that. Is, if you've got if you're losing sustain because of the noise gate, that is one thing that they do. Back off on the noise gate just a little bit. There should be a sweet spot in most instances anyway, and I don't know everything that you have in your rig, but in most instances there should be a sweet spot where on that noise gate that enough of your signal will get through and you'll be able to maintain most of your sustain without hearing any of the noise coming through as well. So noise gates have come a long way in the last really the last 10 years or so. So if it's if you're, and again, I don't know what kind of noise gate that you're using, but if it is the noise gate, try the ISP decimators stuff, because those choke off the signal a lot smoother than most of the other gates that are out there, at least that I have tried. So especially you guys know I love Boss, and the noise suppressor will do the job, but it's a pretty hard choke on that pedal compared to the decimators. So Don B says my clone was a Seriatone Centura, kind of spendy, $280, but sounds good to me. Seriatone make killer amplifiers. I know they've got a few pedals out now too, but they've got a JCM 800 clone that is pretty kick-ass. I was looking at their website here. My buddy Nate was, he and I were chatting Marshalls and stuff, and he mentioned a Seriatone something or other that had his attention. So I went and checked out their website, and they've got a lot of really cool models on their website right now that most of them I hadn't seen before. Seriatone's awesome, man. Mighty Use Hurt says, what happens if the bun splits and becomes 2 pieces of bread? Then it becomes a sandwich. But, I don't know. It didn't really start that way. Didn't really start that way, though. So, no, can't do it. Can't do it. What if you slice the hot dog into thin strips? In which case, if you're going to put them between 2 pieces of bread, then yes, then that would be a hot dog sandwich. My buddy just sold us 5150 for $600. That's about what they go for. That's really about what they go for. They're a little bit more than that now. I guess now up around 7, but on average. When I was at the store, we used to use 5150s and 6505s. Those things sold used all day long for $600. Maybe $650 if it was really, really clean. Hail Mary Recording says, how is the clean on a 5150? Almost non-existent. 5150s, 6505s, they are not known for their clean tone at all. But Eddie Van Halen was never really known for his clean tone either. So, he didn't really seem to care much about playing clean. Mighty Use Hurt says, what if you open the bun, slice the hot dog into tiny rounds, add cheese, and bake it? Is it a long, skinny pizza? No. Hadley Scott McIntyre says, well, I started to say Robert. So the hamburger sandwich. Yeah, hamburger's a sandwich. Just got grilled meat on it. And with me, when I'm grilling burgers, I also like to toast the bun on the grill as well. JG Mopar says about GFS pedals. Ever try them? I have not. I never tried the GFS pedals. I don't really hear too much about them either, but they've been out for a while. I remember when they first started selling those pedals on that website. It was a long time ago now. I never got into them. Price wise, at that time, I don't know what they're selling for now, but at that time, they were cheaper than everything else that was out, but they were more expensive than some of the other stuff that you can get a hold of now. So, but I know guys that have used them and liked them. So. Joey Van Ostrin says, I have a PV5150 combo and an EVH LBX, and I can get great cleans out of both. Got to roll the volume on the guitar a bit. Very touch sensitive. That's the thing, though. You got to roll the volume back on the guitar. Hadley Scott McIntyre says, Bob, at least you pronounce... It says, I suspect you're a fire sign or above average, close to genius IQ. If you're talking to me, the truth is, yes, I am. Hail Mary Recording says, I want a new pedal platform. Love the EVH. It would be a cool tribute. Played through a 90 PV Classic and love it, but it's getting older and temperamental. I keep going back to the Marshall DSLs for some reason, which is strange because I don't even own one. But if you're looking for like a tonally versatile amp with a really good clean channel, that's a really good pedal platform. Those DSLs are tough to beat, man. Robert, is it safe to say your policy with a bad bit of gear is to test it and send it back with some constructive feedback? Yes. Yes, that's exactly what not necessarily test it, but I mean, there's times that I'll pull a pedal out of the box, and literally I'll turn on the camera as I'm trying it out for the first time, and if it's something that somebody sent me anyway, if I spent my own money on it, that's a different story. But if it's something that somebody sent me, I don't necessarily say, I don't know, the test is the right word, but there's some instances where there's just something that just it doesn't do something that that it really should, and I think most people would think that it should, or even just stylistically, I'm just the wrong guy for it, like tremolo pedals, for example. That's a module. I mean, I'm a hard rock metal guy, and I can think of very, very, very few songs of any of the bands that I've ever been into that have used a tremolo pedal, and on anything significant anyway. So and that's not a modulation that I've ever been real attracted to. I'm sure I could find something to do with it, but that modulation itself. I mean, there's plenty of other people out there on YouTube. Mike Hermans or somebody like that is going to be a much better person to demo a tremolo pedal than I will. Hey, Cool Guitar Gear's here. What's up, dude? Charles 75 N said, let's give Robert some more thumbs up, folks. Yes, please do. Thank you very much. Fat Philosopher says, hello from Japan, 3 a.m. What's up, dude? It's 2 p.m. over here on this side of the world. Pardon me. And I'm trying to get caught back up in the chat here. I fell way behind in the chat last week, and it was like 20 minutes going by between when you guys would say something and I'd finally get to it. So, trying to weed out some of the stuff where you guys are talking amongst yourselves. And Hadley Scott McIntyre says, wasn't there a Fender Champ that was a blackface? That probably. Honestly, I don't recall. I mean, there's the Champ, there's the Super Champ, the Vibro Champ, and yeah, there's been a bunch of them. I'm really not that much of a Fender amp aficionado, so that I don't know the answer to it. I would assume that there was a blackface Champ, but again, I'm not entirely sure. Mr. Marty 5555 says hello. What's up, dude? Welcome to you. That's actually a new username that I don't recognize. Joel Bateman says, why spend thousands on a Gibson when you can get a BC Rich a lot cheaper? Those are two entirely, for the most part anyway, they're like two entirely different styles of guitar. There's, somebody who's been a diehard ES335 player for years, is likely not going to suddenly, go pick up a BC Rich Warlock on occasion. I actually happen to love both brands, and I've, there for a while, I was, when I was actively playing out a lot, I was taking, most of my guitars were, a couple of Gibsons, and, one time I was taking 7 guitars out with me, and I think at least 3 of them, it was 2 Les Pauls, an SG, 3, and I think at least 2 BC Riches, my Hamer Scarab, and one other one. It was my Washburn, the ML. So 3 Gibsons and 4 Pointies was what it was. But they were all solid body, nothing hollow or semi-hollow. Frank, 12-string sound check Ciara says, "What's the best Telecaster to buy that is not expensive but plays awesome?" And again, as I mentioned here just a little bit ago, I mean, I'm not much of a Tele guy. Just because that guitar, that style guitar is just not my thing. It just twangs too damn much for me. But that said, if I were going to buy one, I would probably go Chapman. They got, there's the ML2 or something. That's like their standard Tele traditional style Tele guitar. That's for probably $500. Whatever the equivalent to the Strat, their ML1 traditional, which is the Strat that I just got, which is $500, and it's a great guitar. A lot of appointments on it for the money. So I am really, really impressed with Chapman at the moment. And the V2 stuff, the new stuff that they built out of the new factory, they got that right. Fat Philosopher says, "Why get a Gibson when you can get it when you can have a Dean?" Robert, could you make or do you already have a series of videos regarding signal chain from the guitar to the PA? I don't. Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever done a video on signal chain before. As far as like how to organize pedals and stuff. I've actually got I'm getting ready to do a video on a new pedal board that just came out recently, and that might be a good opportunity to tackle, kill 2 birds, if you will. So. But the truth, especially when it comes to pedals, though, I mean, really the best thing to do is run them in the order that sounds best to your ears. Cool Guitar Gear says, "What monitor speakers are you using?" I'm using KRK Rocket 8s, but I'm very interested in the latest Adam Audio TV8s. Very good bass response without needing a subwoofer. The TV8s are really, really good speakers. Or the T8Vs, I think is what they're called. Adam T series, basically, and really, the reason why Adam came out with those monitors is because they didn't have anything in that. I don't want to call them budget monitors, but that $150 price point. They're started at $500, and of course with Adam you can spend. The 77s, I can't remember what they're called, but I mean, they've got some of them that are $4,000 or $5,000 a piece. So. Adam are known to be a very, very high-end studio monitor company, which is why they came out with the T series, because they wanted something out there in that arena to get them into more homes. But to answer your question, I am using a set of Cali Audio LP6s, and I love them. These things are built like tanks, and they're $150 a piece, and they sound like I should have paid $500 for them. Matter of fact, I would recommend the Cali Audio monitors over the Adam T series. My knees hurt says suggest me a meal to cook that uses pinto beans. I made beans yesterday. Now what? Tacos, dude. Duh. Tacos, burritos. You know, that's what I would do with it. Or mash them all up, put them in a dish, and and throw them in the oven, and make refried beans. Fat Philosopher says, too much food talk. Yeah, I'm getting hungry too now. Hallie Scott McIntyre says, I'm a Louisiana. Red beans and rice is okay, but I think pinto beans and rice is way better. Yep, you can always do the rice and beans thing too. Dave Escobar says, I want a grilled brat or Polish dog with spicy mustard. I like to grill brats. The beer and brats are the best for this, and I like to grill bratwurst just like just like you would, and then I always put this is important. You got to put the mustard on the bottom of the bun, on the bottom of the hot dog bun. Then then the brat goes in there on top of it, and then I top it off with my homemade fresh salsa and some cheese. That's a good brat. Jeff Parker says, any recommendation for a pedal? I have the TC Electronic Mimic. Not really happy with it. What I'm trying to get a double track guitar sound live from one guitar. Mimic's supposed to do that. It is supposed to do that. The thing with the Mimic is if you're running it mono, the Mimic is almost useless. The Mimic is really designed to be ran stereo. So, you can, most everybody that uses that pedal says, will tell you that. When you're running the Mimic mono, it does almost nothing. So, if you're trying to use it running mono to get a double track guitar sound, you really need to go stereo. So, in which case, then you might, run one to your amp and one to the board or something like that. That might work. I'm not sure what you need. Something with stereo outs. So, JG Mopar says, tremolo pedal for surf, country, and rockabilly. Exactly. Those are three styles of music that I don't play, but those are also three styles of music that are right up, Ryan's alley. 60 cycle hum. That dude's perfect for to demo tremolo pedal. And he can make it sound good, because he plays that style of music. Man, YouTube is filtering out comments all over. There's, if you guys have left any comments on any videos this week and I didn't see them, that's probably because they changed their filtering algorithm and there's comments that are just getting deleted even before I even had a chance to read them. And I've always had my channel settings set to, where I at least got to review it before I decide if it's going to get posted, if it looks like it's something, it could be inappropriate or something, but. A viewer said, asked me earlier this week, she's like, do you have anything against Donner pedals? Because I keep posting Donner pedals and they keep getting deleted. She thought I was doing it and it wasn't me. Let's see. Rick James 5150 says OLP guitars. Not a fan. Actually, I don't like them at all. Don't like them at all. I think they're. I don't think they're very well made at all. That's putting it nicely. So. Any recommendations on a guitar stand for a Flying V style guitar? I don't want to chip up paint. Yeah, get something like this. This is an Ultimate Stands. What is it, GS 1000 or a GS 100, GS 1000, something like this. But this thing hangs, so there's no base on it. My camera zoomed out quite a ways. You can't see it, but it just hangs like it would on the wall. So, Ultimate makes those stands, or Hercules makes really really nice versions of those stands that are built like tanks. And there's actually nowadays there's actually a lot of copies of that design out on the market now. Fender's got a couple actually that you can get for $40 a piece or something. So that's what I use. Darren Broxton says, "Are you able to share your most bizarre store working day?" Ooh, nothing bizarre really comes to mind. I mean, there were some days that, there were some days where definitely there was some different stuff going on. That was out of the norm. They're like the time we hosted a clinic from Paul Reed with Paul Reed Smith one time, and I was the manager who was tasked with basically hosting him all day long, and that was an interesting experience, because when it comes to guitars, that dude does not think like the rest of us. That dude is on an entirely different wavelength. And when it comes to designing and building guitars, so I learned a lot about guitars that day from Paul, and amps. But so there was that day. There was the day that we hosted Government Mule. That was interesting. Because that day was there was a lot of work that day, because I actually came in on my day I was on vacation at the time. And I came in to help out just with that. Because man, that was a cool opportunity. And obviously I wanted to meet Warren, who's a super nice guy. I mean, talking to him, you never know he was one of the most famous blues guitar players on the planet. Just sitting and having a conversation with him. Super super nice guy, but that was a lot of work, because all of if you walk into a Guitar Center, they got racks and risers and all kinds of stuff all over the place. We had to clear out all of that stuff, and I was taking pictures of them playing, because they set up, basically there's a stage there on the far end of the guitar floor, and they didn't set up a stage. They were sitting, it was on floor level, but the full PA and monitors and their backline, all that stuff. We had to set all that stuff up, and and I was that place was so full, I was literally standing on a counter, above everybody else taking pictures, because because I was an employee and I could do that. That was an interesting experience. And one time we hosted a meet and greet with Five Finger Death Punch, and I got to hang with Jeremy Spencer and Zoltan Bathory, who both of those guys I'm a huge fan of. After they cleared out the line and signed all the autographs, then they hung out with us, and I talked guitars and gear with Zoltan for 30 or 40 minutes or so. Also a really cool guy. Offered me tickets and everything to the show, and I couldn't go because I had to close that night. I was not happy. Joey Van Ostrom says, just to let my fellow Dungeon Chat friends know, I'm looking for an original Metaltronics M1000 head. Keep an eye on Reverb and eBay. Best advice I can give you. I don't know anybody that's got one for sale. You know, I know Max has one, but I don't. You know, he's got that one in the background of his videos, but I don't think he's looking to sell it. What Zoe found a mailman or something. No, she didn't. She saw a dog walking across the street. Zoe? JG Mopar says, I have a Squire John 5 Telly I love that thing. The only Telly I have. Not a fan of Tellys, but that thing is awesome. It is a cool guitar, but let's face it, it's not really a Telly. I mean, it's... we all know John 5 is well known for for playing Tellys, and Jim Root can be thrown in that same category. But both of those guys mod the shit out of them. It's not like either one of those guys are playing Tellys with Texas specials in them. They're modifying them with high output humbuckers, which is totally changes what those guitars sound like. And ebony fretboards, and way flat fretboard radiuses, and they're Tellys, but not really. Although John 5 is also known to have a very, very large vintage Telly collection that are obviously those are unmodified. He's got I think he at one time, and he may have found them all by now, but at one time he was trying to find a butterscotch or a blonde, whatever you want to call them, Telly from every year from the year they started. And he was I saw an interview with him on YouTube when he was showing off some of it, and he was missing a few years at that time, like 57 or 54, that were not exactly. They weren't the really, really high dollar years. He's got the 51 Nocaster, he's got the 52 Blackguard, he's got all that stuff. But hey, the pedal guy's here. What's up, dude? Long time no speak. Let's see. Jack Lichman is here. Says, I'm a new subscriber. I came from your How to Start a Guitar Channel video, and it's really helpful. Thank you. My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. Getting a new channel started on YouTube is getting harder and harder every day. And, it's... YouTube creators don't really compete against each other, but, the more creators that are starting up, it is getting a little harder and harder for viewers to find you, and it's if one thing YouTube isn't ever and probably will never be is consistent. So stick with it, work hard at it, but also learn to adapt. So, but once you get going, it's I think I find it very enjoyable. I think it's a lot of fun. That's why I do it. Kobe says recently got a mixer board, fiddling with it in the PA. We have it hand, and there's something wrong. I was hoping for an overview, including guitars, pedals, amp, mixer, PA. PA. That's yes, they're related in that instance, but if it's that might be a sound engineer question there. So, or it could be however it is that you're sending the signal to from your guitar to the PA. Are you going direct? Are you using an IR? Are you micing it? Are you micing a cab somewhere? And of which if you're micing it, could it be, and I don't know what's wrong with the signal, but DJ Cal Vi. Says, Robert, glad to be here. I bought a 100 watt Randall Lynch box killer amp. LB103, 3 channels. Do you remember them? 2012. I like it so far. Oh, yeah. I remember them very much. That was the George Lynch signature version of the Randall MTS module amps. And, they actually had 4 different George Lynch signature modules. God, there was one called the Brahma something or other. They had the Mr. Scary, and I can't remember what the other 2 are called off the top of my head, but they're basically all of George Lynch's tones. His four that he was most well known for, and you could also throw the other modules in there too if you wanted to sound like something other than George Lynch. I love the Randall MTS. I'd love to have I don't necessarily need a Lynch box, but I do have my RM22 head that I really, really like, and I could stand to pick up a few more modules, but I don't see the modules pop up used very often anymore either, so especially now that the Synergy amps are out and those modules are also compatible with those, so Jeff Parker says, I do run the Mimic stereo. Use a Kemper for live. Run it full stereo mode, then stereo to front of house. Interesting. I don't know what's wrong with it then. I don't know if you're running it into the Kemper, if you're running the Kemper into the Mimic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any suggestions. Unless maybe it's a Lemon, which I suppose is possible. TC's not really known for that, but Rick James 5150 says, "Are there companies you refuse to work with because they treated you badly?" No, I can't really think of any companies that have treated me badly personally. As a from the perspective of a YouTube creator, that is. Now, my retail days, that's a different story. They're like Rickenbacker is notorious for being a monumental-sized pain in the ass. For example, and Rickenbacker they don't need anybody to demo guitars for them on YouTube, but but that's just an example. Mesa were difficult to deal with, on occasion. Not the rep, by the way. We had our rep's name was a guy named Sean Farbman, and Sean's a great guy. Matter of fact, I still reach out to him with when I got a customer with a Mesa question. From time to time. Sean's a great guy, but sometimes their policies just didn't line up with ours, and it made things difficult. But I can't think of especially from a YouTube perspective. Now I take that back. There was one guy. Small, teeny, tiny little pedal builder, and I can't remember the guy's name or even the name of the company here at the moment, but small, teeny, tiny little pedal builder, who was, I actually reached out to him, and he at that time he made 2 pedals. He made a fuzz pedal and he made an overdrive, and I was interested. I reached out to him directly to see if he would be interested in me demoing my me demoing his overdrive pedal, and he saw my video on the Fuzz Factory and lit me up over that, and it was a pretty unprofessional response. So I've thought about just buying the damn thing outright myself and demoing it, that way just to piss him off. So, but he's a guy that, I mean, he's known to talk trash about all kinds of other people. He's been banned from a number of Facebook groups, just because of his attitude. So, I may still do that, but his pedals are also a little pricey too, and for paying $250 for a 3-knob overdrive. Joseph D'Angelo is here. I hope that is not a different moniker for my, for a specific troll that I know of, because that dude's notorious for creating multiple accounts. But oh well. I don't think it is. Robert, ever try the Fender MTGLA distortion pedal? I have not yet. There's some of the Fender's got a whole new line. Well, they expanded their line of pedals, and they include a couple of different distortion pedals, and that's that one's got my attention. I thought it looked pretty interesting. There's that one. There's also a tube-driven pedal of some kind in that line as well that I'm kind of interested in. But yeah, I really really would like to try that one, but I haven't had a chance to yet. So Christopher Morrow said their T style, really, my pop always said a telly shape does not a telly make. That is true. That is true. Yeah, the pedal guy says just editing video. Thought I would drop in for a minute, and that is one of the longest, most tedious things that we do is edit video, and I've got to plan my time when I do it, because it's what I don't want to do, and I have been called out on this a few times and had to be reeled back in. I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Is spending too much time working on YouTube stuff when my wife wants me to be spending time with her, which is, obviously she's entitled to that more than anybody. So I've kind of had to find the right times for me to do that stuff, and it's always been usually late at night after she's already in bed, and I gotta figure out how to get that done, and specific points of the week, and also figure out just learn to live with a little less sleep than I would like to a few days out of the week. But that's what I got to do to get it all done. So some videos certainly take longer than others. I've gotten the pedal demos and stuff, especially I've gotten that down to where I can get one of those edited in about an hour and a half, give or take, anyway. So, but there's been plenty of videos that have taken me 4, 5, 6, 8 hours to to edit front to back to get it done, just because of different camera shots and some weird captions and stuff. So there's something weird about it that just made it difficult. Let's see. Joey Van Ostrin says, Lightning Boy. He shit all over Phil McKnight, and then internets went berserk. I don't know who Lightning Boy is, so I don't. Oh, I remember that. I think I remember seeing Phil's video on it because he had to. I remember him saying that he was some company had sent him a pedal, and Phil is the kind of guy that he actually stops and he spends time with pedals before he actually turns them on. Uh, before he actually turns on the camera. Admittedly, it's something I probably should do more, a little bit more than I do. A lot of times I do, but sometimes honestly, I just don't have that kind of time. But Phil spends a fair amount of time with him, and I guess there was something wrong with the particular unit that he was sent, and it's been a while since I saw this, so I can't recall all the details, but. Whoever the pedal manufacturer was took that as, an insult and, Phil, trashing his product, which is far from the case. But I don't remember what happened if they, if he ever ended up doing the video on it or not. But I think Phil ended up having to send the pedal back to the dude, and. Then the guy went and trashed Phil all over the place, and Phil had to put up a video explaining his side of the story, and and just based on what I have, based on my experience with small 1-2 man companies like that, I tend to believe Phil. So. I don't, I'm not, I don't know if Lightning Boy was the company. I'm not familiar with it, if that's who it was, but oh well. Christopher Morrow says, "Hey Robert, I've had a rough riding Saturday. I woke up yesterday with an abscessed tooth. Ugh. Been on medication since about 4 yesterday, so with swollen face and dizzy head, I sit supporting you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm, dealing with toothaches and stuff like that is no fun. None at all. I don't envy you one bit. That sucks, dude. That sucks a lot. I'm sorry to hear that. Get to feeling better. And don't do the old trick of crushing up an aspirin or something, and sticking inside your tooth, because that'll just make it worse. So, any dentist in the world will tell you negative. Hobo Roadie says, "Hey Robert, go to bed at the same time as the family. Get up at 0 dark 30 and get back to work." Negative. I try to sleep as long as I can. This is even on work days, I get up at the last possible minute to be at work on time. So I am not a morning person at all. I would much rather stay up late at night and get done what I need to get done. Those are, that's just, that is just the kind of guy that I am, just not a morning person. So, I was up late last night because I was binge watching Cobra Kai. And I said, when I first started this live stream today, I said then, when I first started my live stream, I said, if you love the movie The Karate Kid like you're supposed to, and you haven't yet seen Cobra Kai, that's your fault, because that show kicks ass. I mean, totally kicks ass. It's a great show. It's on Netflix now. It started out, like it started out on like YouTube, whatever the paid, YouTube Red, I think is what it's called. The paid version where you can watch all the premium, whatever premium stuff there may be without the ads and stuff like that. Anyway, but I know they had the first 2 episodes of that series up for free on YouTube, and you could anybody could watch those. I watched them both and I enjoyed them. But I make enough money for YouTube as it is. I'm not about to buy a damn streaming service from them. So, give them back any money at all. I think I ought to be getting that for free. So, I just chalked it up to the fact I was likely never going to be able to see the rest of that series. And then all of a sudden they moved it to Netflix. I just saw recently, and so I binge watched the whole damn thing this week. JG Mopar says Wampler and those guys went after Phil. Brian Wampler? I can't see that. I'd have to actually see that to believe it. I mean, Brian's about the most, is the nicest, most laid back guy in the world. Some of the other guys I can, they get pretty uptight. Zachary Vex, and this is despite his, personal feelings towards me, because we all, I think most everybody knows Zachary Vex hates me. But despite any feelings he has towards me, I think my understanding is he's known to, be pretty temperamental and a little uptight and stuff, and take things way too seriously and too personal, and that I don't know if that's true or not, but that is what I have heard. So I've never actually met the guy in person or communicated with him directly. I just know he hates me because he left a comment on my Fuss Factory video that wasn't, that was less than stellar. Thunder Falcon says, RGD, anything new coming that you're excited about trying? I'd kind of like to try those new JHS pedals, and the new $99 JHS pedals. I'd like to try those. I would, I don't know that I'm going to fall in love with any of them, but I would certainly like to give them a try. As far as new gear, the new Boss has got a couple of. I'm not too interested in the new Boss the new Boss loop station stuff, because me and loopers are just a pain in the ass. But there's that new octave pedal, the new OC5 looks really, really cool, and yeah, that's really about all I can think of. A lot of people are losing their minds over the new Epiphone 59 reissue Les Paul. That's they're advertising as the first. I was talking with a buddy of mine who ordered one from. I think he had to go to. I think it's the Chicago Music Exchange. Still had them. But he ordered his last night. He couldn't. So he texted me and told me about it. And he said that they're advertised as a collaboration between Epiphone and the Gibson Custom Shop, which could very well be true. Certainly nothing wrong with that, but they're supposed to be limited, but they haven't published anywhere how many units they're actually making. And Sweetwater, I guess, has a exclusive finish for them only. So they're limited, but they don't say how limited. So that makes me wonder if they just said, yeah, these are limited, and then they're going to post limited, put that limited edition logo on the back of the headstock like they did for years. To where every Epiphone that was cranked out of the factory was a limited edition version, when obviously there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them that were made. So I'm wondering if they're not going to do that with it. And if they are, that kind of really turns me off on the whole thing. And I mean, I personally think the last thing the world needs is another 59 Les Paul reissue, but just my opinion. Nothing against Gibson, nothing against Epiphone or anything like that. But there's a lot of people that are talking about that. So JD Mopar. Christopher Morrow says Cobra Kai is so badass. JD Mopar says Cobra Kai is awesome. Season 3 be interesting the way 2 ended. Yeah, I don't know where the hell they're going with it now, man. I mean, with all of a sudden Johnny just walked away from Cobra Kai, and turned it back over to Kreese. The way that he did, I mean, it was. I don't know, man. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going, and is the kid gonna live? I don't know, man. The goddamn cliffhanger. Yep, season 3's up in January, so I'm looking forward to it. That'll be it. That'll be fun. Well, if it's depending on when it's up in January, it all kind of depends on how it coincides with the Super Bowl. So if it's an off week between the end of the playoffs and the Super Bowl, or if it's after the Super Bowl, then that will make for a real nice Sunday afternoon binge watching session here for me in central Indiana, the time of year when it's absolutely miserable to set foot outside anyway. So Philip B says, I have an Ibanez Tube Screamer TS9DX Turbo. I think it sounds horrible. Any suggestions? That's actually my favorite Tube Screamer model. The Ibanez, the Ibanez Tube Screamers, that is. You might be, I don't know how you're running it or what you're running it into or what guitar you're playing it with or anything, but I would suggest backing off on the gain. Put it all the way down on the lowest gain mode, the TS9 mode, and turn the gain almost all the way down and the level up. And if you need more gain boost from there, then bump up the gain just a little bit and bump the volume back down until you find that sweet spot, or maybe not even bump the volume back down, but bump the gain up just a little bit at a time, but start with 0. I find that, on those, I run the gain pretty low. Really almost a lot of times I'll run it at 0 if I've got it on the low gain mode. If I'm running it on the the plus or the turbo modes or something like that, that's a different story. And I actually did a demo of that pedal several months back, or maybe almost a year ago now, and looking back, I kind of wish I had done it differently, because it's, for the longest time when I demoed, when I demoed overdrive pedals, I always ran them into a slightly overdriven amp, and I still do that. But that was, but then so many people would start complaining. I'd love to hear how it sounds in a clean channel. Well, it's an overdrive pedal. It's not, not really meant to be ran into a clean channel, and that's what distortion pedals are for. And a lot of people said that to me over and over again. And when I did the video on the Blues Driver, that one I knew sounded really cool going into a clean channel, and so I've started demoing overdrive pedals both ways, and showing what they sound like into a clean amp and into a slightly overdriven amp. And I didn't run, the TS9DX is actually a good pedal to use into a clean amp. So, and I didn't demo it that way, and I kind of wish that I had. So. But you got to use on the TS9 or the turbo modes. If you're running the turbo mode into a fully cranked up Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, that's too much, and that's going to sound like shit. So, does AC/DC go on tour for the album? I hope so. They've got Brian Johnson's back with them. They got Brian Johnson back, which means that his throat issues have been, seem to be repaired somewhat. At least enough for him to be able to sing, at least in the studio. For what that's worth. Yeah, if AC/DC went out on tour, I'd still pay to see him even without Malcolm. And I guess the guy they got to replace him was a cousin of the Young brothers anyway. So, still a family member. It's not Malcolm, but nobody will ever be Malcolm, and we all know Unfortunately, he's gone. So, yeah, but yeah, if they tour again, if they come to the U.S., especially if they come here, yeah, I'll spend the money to go see him. That may be the last opportunity I get. I've never actually never gotten to see AC/DC live. I've seen the videos and stuff, but I've never actually gotten to go. But like I said, that all depends on if they even tour again, and they very well may not. Because let's face it, those guys are old. Kobayashi says Robert needs a Les Paul custom silver burst in a pinch. Actually, I prefer ebony. The ebony, the black one, the black Les Paul custom is the guitar that I have wanted my entire life and still continues to elude me. I'm not real crazy about the silver burst. They're cool, but if I were going to buy one for myself it would only be one, I'd go. The black one would be my first choice, and the white would be my second. So. Phil B says, okay, great advice. My grip is with the gain knob. Yeah, with overdrive pedals, especially tube screamers, man, that's, a little goes a long way. And, just keep in mind what it is that you're using it for, too. A lot of people just use them now, especially nowadays, and they're using them for high, running them into high gain amps. They just, use them more to tighten up the bottom end more than they do to add more gain. So, a lot more than they do to add more gain. Hank.Inc. says, Robert, I found a used MXR Zakk Wylde overdrive last week, and I love it. Am I crazy? I read on the web many hate it. I remember you were a fan, so maybe you tried it at some point. Yeah, I think that's a killer overdrive, to be honest with you. That's a great pedal. I don't know why people, are suddenly shitting on, all over that pedal. I mean, there for a while, when it was still being made, and about like mid late 2000s. I mean, Zakk Wylde was still at the top of the world, and he was, Black Label Society was probably at the height of their popularity, and Zakk was as popular as he has ever been. And anything with his name on it sold like wildfire. So, that said, that overdrive pedal is a really, really good sounding overdrive pedal, and especially running it into his amp. Because he's he always had that signature JCM 800, but running it into his amps is, that's a match made in heaven. It's that pedal was based on the Boss SD1, which he used for years before that. So. So no, that's a killer overdrive. I can't believe I don't own one, to be honest. Dakota S is here. Welcome, sir. Catching what's looks like maybe the tail end of this thing. Philip B says Guitar Center going out of business. Any comments? Guitar Center's not going out of business. I promise you. Guitar Center's not going out of business. They've been going out of business for 20 years and they're still around. They're not going anywhere. That's ridiculous. I think what you read was, they're liable, they've got they had to restructure their debt, and I think that they're about to, they're on the verge of having to file bankruptcy because of you know almost, they got almost 300 stores, and all of them but six were closed for 3 months of the year. And the next payment of their debt restructure, whatever that terminology is called, is coming up, and may not, and there's still a chance that they might be able to make it, but it's right now it's not looking like it. So it may force them to have to file bankruptcy. But if a company, just because they filed does not mean they're going anywhere. That'll. There's been a few retailers that's happened to this year already. Again, because of the pandemic, and with that store or with that company, you close 290 something stores, and you tell me how let's see how you're hurting after 3 months of that. So, but no, they'll be fine. They're not going anywhere. It's been a rough year for everybody, and I mean this economy that we're living in right now has not been easy for anybody. So yeah, they're not going anywhere. I promise you, whether you want them to or not. Kobayashi says all the guitar heroes I grew up with are passing into at least their 60s, with most of the guys appearing in the 90s and 2000s dying young. Yeah, we're at that age. We're gonna those guys are at that age. We're gonna start losing them. Unfortunately, not everybody can beat Keith Richards, and not that I'm waiting for Keith Richards to die, or that I'm hoping for, because I'm certainly not. But how the hell that dude is still alive? I mean, that's a miracle of Mother Nature is what that is. Um, but yeah, there has been a few people. Eddie Van Halen died, 65 years old, was very, very young. So just being the most recent example. Joey Van Ostrom says, if you want to learn how to play, really play guitar, study Malcolm or Hetfield. Two greatest rhythm players on the planet. That I agree with. Hetfield especially. So many. All the young metal guitar players and the young metal bands today. So much of that guitar style was, whether they know it or not, was derived from James Hetfield's playing style. All downstrokes and palm mutes, and a really, really, really fast right hand. Or pick hand. Let's not forget there are some left-handed guitar players out there. Phil B says, yeah, GC hits people over the head with the price. That's, again, not true. Crazy Cook 678 says, our Robert has picked up a Legends P1 pedal, could not afford a 5150. What do you think of the pedal? I haven't played them. I've seen them, and I'm fairly familiar with them. All of those pedals are basic, really they're more preamps than they are like distortion pedals. So, and that's what they're designed to sound like. It's designed to sound like a 5150 or, Marshall or something like that. So that's the idea behind them. I've not played them, but I've heard good things. So they're not the most popular things in the world, but I think they're one of those brands that a lot of people just either don't know about them or they overlook them, or whatever the case may be. JG Mopar says, with the COVID, a lot of places are hurting. Exactly, a lot of places are hurting, and nobody got hit. I don't know if anybody got hit harder, with this whole pandemic thing than, the retail industry. So, between retail and bars and restaurants, DJ Calvi says, Robert, I bought the Red Overdrive Malmsteen. The Malmsteen Overdrive from Fender is very good. I think I know the one that you're talking about. I don't, because I think now, well, he's been, that's right. They came out with, I can't remember if the Fender one came out after after the Digitech or DoD version, but they came out with a signature version of him because Yngwie was always known for using the old DoD Overdrive 250. He used that thing for years, and then I think it was Digitech or DoD that came out with a signature version of that for him, and then the Fender one came. I can't remember if that was before or after, but that's basically what it is, or the circuit that it's based on anyway. And Yngwie's tone sounds killer, man. Say what you want about Yngwie, his guitar sounds badass. Hobo Roadie says, I buy used gear from GC as if it's going out of business, and fix it myself if it's defective. Still getting the occasional awesome score. Get lots of killer deals on used gear from GC. And that's what people always seem to, it drives me absolutely batshit crazy because people want to bitch and moan all day long about how much, GC may have, how low they may have offered them on their guitar that they wanted to, that they brought in to sell them, but I don't see anybody bitching at all about the great deal on the used guitar that they bought last time they were there, or whatever it may have been. So, that doesn't, and they don't necessarily always buy low to sell low, but, I think for the most part, there are exceptions, plenty of exceptions, but for the most part, I think their used gear is priced very fairly. I bought a lot of used pedals off of GC's website. A lot of used pedals. Philip B says, I bought a Gibson ES335 Studio Midnight Blue and professionally put a Classic 57 in the neck. Do you think this mod increased the value of this guitar? There's not a mod on the planet that will increase the value of any guitar. Ever. Maybe the only exception would be if it was like an entry-level Squire or something, and you put Duncan pickups and Goto hardware and stuff like that. Then that might bump up the value a little bit on something like that. But on a high-end guitar like that, no, not at all. On a high-end guitar like that, anything that you change out on is going to devalue it. Because it's, the reason why is because it's, it's customized for one person, and in this instance, it's the person that, that would be selling it, if, assuming it was for sale. So, Phil B says, I would give it to you. GC has some good business, but you definitely have to haggle a bit. Well, name a place that you don't. I mean, there's, especially in these times that we're in. I mean, you walk in, who the hell's gonna, offer you a fucking, a guitar or an amp or something, 10 or 20% above their cost on it right off the bat without you asking for it. I mean, and even if you did, I mean, there's not a lot of profit margin in musical instruments, dudes. I mean, there's just not. So if you're able to get a 10 or 15% discount of them, you probably ought to take it, because most cases they don't have much room left in it than that, and anything lower, they're not going to make any money on it, and it's not worth it to them anyway. I mean, they're not going, there's not a retail I've never walked into a place, where, anywhere, where they just, automatically gave me 50% off just because I graced them with my presence, you know. Savannah Guitar says, "What computer plugins do you use in MIDI interface?" I don't really do any MIDI stuff, but my interface is it's a Focusrite Scarlett 18i20, which works great. I've got it set up so that it's got two combo XLR quarter-inch combos on the front. So one of them has this mic plugged into it because stupid Windows won't recognize a freaking microphone if it's not plugged into input one for some stupid reason. Then the other one is there for the other one's left open for utility stuff, whatever I may need to plug into. And then the ones on the back, I've got one setup dedicated for my Two Notes Torpedo Live. There's one dedicated for my Laney IRT Studio. There's one with a DI box, one dedicated for a DI box that I use to record bass sometimes, and with plenty of inputs left on the back if I ever need them. So that's usually, that's how I do it. As far as, I generally record with Studio One. I'm still on Studio One 4. I haven't upgraded to 5 yet. But I generally record with Studio One, Persona Studio One 4. I use a lot of their stock plugins. Not a lot, but some, like they've got a couple of stock preset compressors and stuff I like to use for drums. And, and I use Amplitude Max. I use a lot of, I use a few amps from Amplitude Max, particularly for bass. For guitar, I use Amplitude Max. I use, Two Notes Wall of Sound, IR, plugins for IR more than anything. And Amplitude. I also use Amplitude Max for compressor and EQ quite a bit. They've got a couple of EQs and compressors that I really like, and then occasionally a couple of other virtual amps from ML Sound. I've got the Fluff Signature one that they the free version that they released when they came out with that, and that actually sounds really good. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm far from Superior Drummer 3 and Easy Drummer 2, depending on my mood, for drums. So, but that's really about it. I mean, I'm far from a well-seasoned well-seasoned studio guy. So my mixes don't sound, I think anyway, don't sound anywhere near as good as some of the other channels out there. But I just wanted to get good enough at it to be able to get the point across. JG Mopar says, "I got my Charvel Desolation for $249 clearance at GC. I got mine for $199 clearance. And mine's the SK1, the top level one with the neck through construction, the EMGs. There are definitely some good deals to be had at GC." I think I need to do another video on GC because in this thread alone, just since we've been talking about it, I'm seeing I'm not going to address every single one of these, but I see things all the time where people are bitching and moaning or something, and more times than not, go look up my. I'll tell you what. Go if you guys want to see what I'm talking about, go look up the video on my channel where I talked about a few years ago, about how GC buys used gear. Read the comment section, because more often than not, in that comment section, somebody's complaining about an offer that they got at a Guitar Center somewhere, and I've asked them a few questions and figured out that, they're not, they haven't exactly disclosed all of the details. of why they're upset. And I'll be, I'm seeing a lot of the same stuff here, and I don't know if you guys are withholding details or not, but it's a lot of the same complaints. So. Hadley Scott McIntyre says GC fucked me on free shipping and sold me a guitar with a fretboard crack hidden. So when you contacted them about the cracked fretboard, what did they do to fix it? Because that stuff happens. And a lot of times it's inside of a box that they've never opened and they have no way of knowing. Christopher Bass is here. Says, sorry, missed the show. I had to paint my restaurant. I think that's definitely more important than my live show, dude. William Silva says, did you ever check out those Ends guitars after having mine for a week? I'm blown away by how awesome it is. I have not had a chance to yet. Matter of fact, I forgot all about them since you mentioned it last week. I've got some time this afternoon. I will definitely check that out here today. Why is my phone blowing up? Track? Yeah, okay. Crazy Cook 678, Robert, what guitar are you playing the most right now? I've not put down my Wolfgang lately. I actually, I pulled a couple of guitars off the wall that I hadn't played in a little while because I need to be set up, and one of those was my old trusty Schecter Blackjack. So I just, it just needed to be tweaked a little bit, and and once I did, it's I remembered why I love that guitar as much as I do. So I used that one on a couple of videos this week, and yeah. So that one, same with my Ibanez Xiphos, and of course Music Man behind me that I just grabbed here a little bit ago. Those have been the ones. Those and my two Chapmans. I played those a fair amount. So, that's what those are the ones I'm into here the most lately. I'm sure they'll change, but, some of those are just go-to guitars that I just, that I use in a lot of videos, but yeah. Yep, I don't own a Wolfgang, although they, PV did finally, if they could officially announce that I've known about this for, a year and a half or so now, but a couple years, but they're re-releasing the HP2, which is what the HP2 is what the old PV Wolfgang became after Eddie Van Halen's deal with PV ended and he left, started EVH. But they are re-releasing the HP2, and I guess they're going to be made in France. So somebody asked earlier about something I'm excited to check out. That, I forgot about those. That would definitely be on the list. So, let's see. Christopher Bass says, anyone else's Guitar Center have nothing but beat to death stuff. Here we go again. Okay, yes. Almost 300 of their stores were closed this year. Okay, that is the vast majority of that company's income. Okay, 3 months, 3 full months. In a lot of stores were a lot longer than that. No business whatsoever, period. Okay. And that wasn't just Guitar Center. All of the vendors shut down and quit building and manufacturing gear, etc. Everything came to a screeching halt except for people buying gear. So, yes, inventory got depleted at most stores. You can't, it's getting better, but, because everything's kind of starting to get caught back up now, but you can't walk into a Guitar Center right now and, without it being, looking pretty bare, because they sold everything, they shipped it all out, while, what they had anyway, while everybody was sitting at home, and still are in a lot of cases. The store's back open, but, that ain't their fault. DJ Calvi says, Robert, I want an attenuator right now. I have a JHS little black box, but that's not enough. That's not an attenuator. That's a volume control that's meant to be placed in the little black box. I think that's just the volume control in the effects loop is all that is. That's not an attenuator. What an attenuator does is actually absorbs part of the power output between the amplifier and the speaker to cut the power that way, as opposed to just turning the volume down. If you if you just put a volume control in the effects loop, that's a good way to to regulate the volume a little bit, and that's kind of a cheap fix, but that's not actual attenuation. So depending on what kind of amp you have and how many watts it is, there's a lot of attenuators out on the market these days. The Fryette stuff's really good. There goes my light. Let's see, the Fryette stuff is really good. The two-note stuff is really, really good, depending on, it's all really, really good, but you want to make sure you get the right one for your needs. And the Weber stuff. Go check out Weber's website. They've got a lot of really good attenuators. So, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Robert, is there something wrong with me because I tried a lot of expensive distortion pedal and I always end up liking my buying metal end King? You call it the metal end Crown. I'm assuming you're talking about the metal end King all the time. And no, there's nothing wrong with that because that's actually a great pedal. And the truth is, whether it's a cheap distortion pedal made in, Josh Scott talked about this recently on his channel. Whether it's a cheap distortion pedal made in China somewhere, or if it's a an expensive distortion pedal in the U.S. It's all of those components and all the vast majority of the parts and the transistors and the capacitors and the boards and all that stuff. All of it comes from overseas somewhere. Most of it comes out of comes from Behringer. To be honest with you, all of those pedal companies all source their parts from Behringer. So is there something wrong with you because because you're enjoying a lesser expensive distortion pedal over the rest of them? No, there's not. And that particular pedal is I own that one too, and I think it's a great pedal. Mm. Alrighty. Well, HP2 is $24.99. I didn't know that. I didn't see how much they sell for, but interesting. That's pricey, but I don't know, man. Nowadays though, depending on how well they're made, I need to email my guy at PV and ask him about that. I'm sure he's been hit up by every YouTube guy on the planet's reached out to him about that guitar, but what the hell's one more? All right, fellas. Well, I'm gonna hit the road. I'm gonna all this talk about tacos and burritos and burgers and hot dogs and sandwiches and stuff made me hungry. So I'm gonna go get me some lunch, and then I'm gonna see if I can't finish up the rest of Final Fantasy VII Remake today. Which there better be about another 4 or 5 parts of this because they've only scratched about 20% of the story in this in this damn game that they released. So I hope that there's gonna be more releases on this because I'm starting to feel a little ripped off that we didn't get the whole story and all the characters and everything that's with it. So for anybody else that might be a Final Fantasy VII fanatic like me. Anyway, but I'm going to go do those things and enjoy the rest of my weekend. So you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend as well. Enjoy the video that you get that goes up tomorrow morning. And, I've already forgotten which one it is, but et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.